Warning: the following program contains adult language, adult themes, and spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of This Week's Episode. It's the week of November 25th, 2021. This is episode 241, and I am your host, Chris Randazzo. Joining me tonight, as always, is Voice of the Fire Lord, Karen Randazzo.
You'll be half a fish and you'll like it.
Absurd live-action adaptation, Angie Fernot.
Gargoyles.
And Moon Knight in the flesh, Evan Goldstein.
Ask this old house.
Oh, you suck.
Tonight, conflicting reports on Batwoman's working conditions. Disney Plus Day brings in the thunder. Things get a little modern down in Fraggle Rock and more. But first, how is everybody doing?
I'm disappointed that I couldn't come up with a good quote. I've been watching Gargoyles like every single day, and I was literally playing the opening in my head, and then I couldn't do it.
We were actually watching an episode last night where there's what's her name, the
Lisa,
human
Elisa
girl
Maza.
Elisa Maza?
turns into a gargoyle, and then there was a lot of bam chicka wow wow going on between.
Yo, Goliath is into her. This episode, I remember this episode from like being a kid because I remember being like, "There's romance between the gargoyle and the human. Tell me more."
Only when she's a gargoyle, though, because as soon as she turned human, they're like, ew, gross.
Nah, man. Look, she knew the potential. Like
That
she gets
doesn't
it.
go away.
That's yeah. I remember this.
That's like it sits there. Nothing happens with it, but it sits there until the very end of the show, last episode. But I'm not spoiling anything else because Karen's never seen that show before. And I was thinking about watching it. I was thinking about making that the next show I brought up for the kids and us to watch together because, it's a great show. We just finished Justice League.
Cool.
We finally put the nail in the coffin on that one. That's over. And it's deciding what show we're going to go to next. And it's like, well, do I start up Avatar now? And then I'm thinking, like, I haven't done a rewatch of Gargoyles in a long time. And I think the kids might really dig it. Like, I'm sure they would. Like, John's starting to get into dinosaurs a bit. And gargoyles are like, cool big creatures with wings. And, Bronx is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's also such a cool little, like, child's introduction to a lot of, like, literature characters and stuff. Like, you
like
got
this.
like the Shakespearean characters and stuff, and it's got a lot of cool stuff in it. Like, obviously, it's cheesy, written like a kids show for the most part, but it's got some good plots in it. And
it's written like an over dramatic children's show, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's very melodramatic. That's the word I was looking for. It's all flavors of melodramatic, but
they have
in an endearing way.
Good lessons. Like I was telling, I think, was I telling you guys about this? The fact that they talk about like gun control on the show?
That was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that blows my friggin' mind. And they did it in a way that I think it's still relevant today. So they have moments where they talk about things that, like, when it comes to like trusting people and like relationships and what, like, I don't know. I just think that there's things they tackle that are still relevant even now. And
yeah, it's the kind of kids show that does that kind of stuff really well because it's melodramatic enough to resonate with kids, but it's smartly written enough to stand the test of time. Like, because it is an intelligent kids show.
Yes.
And I love that about it.
yes.
It's also cool as heck.
Oh my God, yes. I'm so
many
excited.
good voice actors too. So much Star Trek Next Generation voice
So
acting. but still.
I said to Evan the other night, I was like, God, honey, this is like watching a next gen reunion.
It's
like,
the next generation,
right? Like, it was
It
so
really
funny.
is. I mean, Deanna Troy's in there. I mean, freaking Xanatos is Riker, and
Yep. And-
what's his name? Data voices Puck, I think, and
Yes, he does, and I just saw the first episode with him.
Michael Dorn's in there doing a handful of characters. The guy who played Chief O'Brien does a couple of characters in later seasons. Like, most of the cast of Next Generations. I think Whoopi Goldberg didn't show up, and neither did Patrick Stewart. But honestly, it's kind of weird looking at it now. Like, really, they didn't get Patrick Stewart for this? Because it seems like he'd be like all over this.
Listen, they didn't get Patrick Stewart, but you know who they did get? Tim Curry.
That's right.
True.
That was an amazing episode.
So every now and then, Evan's been seeing what I'm seeing, and it's just so cool.
I mean, I've seen Gargoyles before, but I've just I keep popping in every once in a while, and every time I do pop in, I am there sitting for the entirety of the episode.
Yeah.
Because it's an engaging show. It's really good.
It is kind of hard to look away.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's not because it's good, though. There's some rough episodes, but that's fine.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we're talking about a show that was immediately syndicated, you know? Mm-hmm. These were like, all right, 5 days a week, Disney after Dune, crack them out.
Yeah.
Like, all right. So, but all in all, the level of quality on it's pretty solid.
And it's the hand animation, which is so cool. And I love the fact that they still did stuff at that time where they had like painted backgrounds. So when they turned to stone, you have this like beautiful stone painting. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, fuck. I wish I could get one of those.
I mean, that was the style of the time for sure. I mean, this was right after Batman the Animated Series.
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of shook up, kids entertainment, like kids animation for a good long while. Mm-hmm. And then this was, I think, probably the closest to a real, of that visual style follow up. Like this was really Disney's answer to Fox's Batman the Animated Series, and I think they did pretty darn well.
Oh yeah,
they did. They did.
Yeah.
Still can't believe that this is not a well that Disney's dove into for some sort of live action thing. Like,
please.
I cannot believe that they. I mean, this is Disney we're talking about. They do all kinds of stuff. There's like 16 live action Pinocchio movies. They own Gargoyles, and it's like, man, how do you not adapt that into live action? This is like really perfect for this superhero movie era that we're actually been. It's past time for that. This would have hit great like 5 years ago.
Yep.
I can't believe they haven't optioned that.
I know, you and me both, and that's been like a dream of mine forever because I just got this. Oh my god, it's like the most beautiful collectible I have that isn't my Joelle Jones one. That's like the only other collectible I have, actually. But that's not the point. Point is, I got a Goliath collectible action figure, and the wingspan, like each wing by itself is like 8 to 10 inches long. So like just the wingspan on him. Oh my god, it's so beautiful. And it's like so detailed. It's not like sometimes you get the action figures that are collectibles that'll like mimic the art style, so it's like really simple, minimalistic, not a lot of detail. Nah, this is not that. And there is like absolutely beautiful, gorgeous rendering on the whole thing. And like you get the tail you can actually like manipulate it so he can stand, and like it comes with little props, and one of them's a book and the other one's a jalapeno, and I was like, this is so cute. So I'm very, very excited about it, and I just like looking at that, it makes me think about like, if they can have an action figure that looks this good, imagine even if it was like the CGI style they do now, they could do such good things with this.
Oh my god, a modern take on Gargoyles could be amazing. Except, we've now lost the opportunity to have Ed Asner be Hudson. But
I know.
You know what was weird about Ed Asner's Hudson? The frequency in which he bounced in and out of his Scottish accent.
Well, he voices other characters a lot of times. Or are you talking about as Hudson?
No, as Hudson.
Like, oh. Yeah, well,
I know John Rhys Davies was like Scottish as hell on that show, but
yes,
all right.
Like extra Scottish.
Yeah.
But in the best way.
Anyways, what else you guys been up to, huh?
What else have you been watching, hon? Other than the stuff we've been trying to watch together.
Just a little bit of Adam Ruins Everything. We started Arcane.
Oh yeah. That show is so goddamn beautiful.
Yeah. That has been really fun. It makes me want to go back into the League of Legends world just because it gets me excited about like the characters again, and I love the world building, and I don't know. I know League is not like it's not that kind of game, but it's very well developed around its characters, so that part's pretty interesting. And other than that,
I mean, we've been watching a lot of fixer-upper type shows.
Yeah, we're very house hungry. We really want a house, and like we also really want to be able to fix it ourselves.
So we've been trolling the internets looking for different like home renovation shows, and we've caught on to Fixer to Fabulous, which is, you know, the standard couple, guy who is in construction, woman who is in design, and it's shockingly how similar these two are to Chip and Joanna Gaines.
Yeah, but it's no Chip and Joe. Okay,
they're no Chip and Joe, but that's like they even have a farm that has sheep and shit. Like it was creepy. It's as if they were trying to steal their lives almost.
Yeah, like I don't know which show came first, but I was like, this is oddly parallel to the other in many ways. Okay,
way after.
Well, these people apparently took all their notes from Chip and Joe then, because
Property Brothers, which is the creepiest of the home renovation shows, because it's the two twin brothers that one really needs to have like a constant mustache so I could tell the difference between the two of them, because they are interchangeable personalities, speech patterns, dress. Like I can't tell which one is which. And my favorite of them is okay, so there's 20 seasons of this show and it's called Ask This Old House. Now, there was a show called This Old House with Bob Vila.
Heck yeah, there was. My dad used to watch that every single week. Oh, man, I'd love waking up in was it Sunday mornings or something? Yep. And you'd be watching This Old House with Bob Vila and Norm Abrams. And, man.
So that continued for a number of seasons. And then a different group of guys came in, and then they did like a web series, which was Ask This Old House, which is they would take like emails and letters, and they would pretty much answer 2 questions or 2 requests, and then do a little funny little interstitial in the middle, like what is this? They'll find like a little tool-based thing that is, you know, not normal, and they would, you know, joke around about what it is. But each of the first...
Basically describing me every time I walk into Home Depot. Go.
The first 10 to 15 minutes and then the last 10 to 15 minutes are them doing a specific project, whether it be changing out a water heater or fixing a leaky faucet. Like, they do very specific things, and they show you from beginning to end how it is done, and it's instructional as well as entertaining. It's great. Like, it seems the time for me watching the show just like clicks on by. It's 30-minute intervals. You know, they get a little corny sometimes, but it's great because there's no drama around like the stuff. Like, that's what all the Property Brothers and the Fixer Uppers, like, there's a lot of minutia around that, and I just want to see the project. Like, show me them tearing down the wall and putting it back up, kind of thing. And that's what Ask This Old House is.
It's so cool.
I haven't stopped humming the This Old House theme in my head since you brought this up.
So yeah, we watched that.
Most of what we're watching right now is really like movies and stuff.
I mean, we
watched the first episode of Cowboy Bebop.
I figured Kris had teased me yesterday with that he has thoughts, so I will wait to talk about that with him. But I watched like a full season of this cartoon called Genlock. Have anybody heard about this?
I've heard of this.
It is
Genlock. Why do I remember that?
It's a CG animated show. It's voiced. I'm trying to look at the cast. The voice cast is Michael B. Jordan, Dakota Fanning, like Maisie Williams. There's a number of names involved in this, and it's a weird. David Tennant is a voice in it as well. This doctor has created this system called Genlock, where a person can upload their brain to a mech, and that mech is, you know, for protection and military things. And then
upload how, like Pacific Rim style?
Close. It's similar to Pacific Rim style, but they're unconscious. They're like asleep.
I remember seeing commercials for this on
Avatar
Adult
with
Swim.
the blue
That's why
people.
I recognize this.
Yes, closer to Avatar with the blue people mixed with mechs and so on. And there's of course a bad group that has, you know, similar stuff, and it's just, I haven't watched a lot of anime, and this is very anime, but there's a heavy emotional story arc to this, because Michael B. Jordan's character in the first episode dies by committing the ultimate sacrifice and saving people, kind of thing, but then he becomes the main mech, and then there's a romantic aspect to this story. It caught me by surprise. I did not know what to expect. I was engaged. It was very entertaining. There's a guy named Kazu who is he's Japanese, but he
only speaks in Japanese.
He only speaks in Japanese. He's always subtitled, but these mechs have all of these gadgets and powers and whatnot, and guns and lasers, and all this motherfucker does is just run full steam into everybody and picks them up and suplexes them, and he's a lot there's no finesse to him at all, and he's my favorite character, because at one point in time they start modifying, there's a young girl who sort of gets the blueprints to how to modify the tech, and she creates new machines. She was having a problem because her brain is laced to this robot. The robot is very tall and lanky, and she's very short, so she kept feeling like she was going to fall over. So she modified hers to have shorter legs, and she gave the Kazu guy a full samurai gear, headdress and shoulder pads and whatnot. And he's like, "You made me you are my favorite person." It's adorable, and it's endearing. It's a lot of fun. I was enjoying the hell out of it.
That's right, listeners. My husband is watching anime, and I didn't make him do that.
I came as a surprise to me too. But
well, he's watching something that's anime inspired.
Well,
true, but this is the closest he'll ever get. This is it reminds me of Appleseed.
Okay.
And this is to me the closest he's ever going to get to watching anime. This is anime light in ways.
Until I make him do it for the show.
That's true.
Okay, that's what I mean though. Free will.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, it was Michael B. Jordan that voice. I was curious as to what he was doing, and I said, all right, I'll check that out. And then David Tennant, and I was like, all right, I'm sold on the voice cast. Let's see what you got. And it was a short season. I think it was 10 episodes.
Let's see if you're worth it.
So, and then of course, The Unexplained, featuring William Shatner, and Paranormal Caught on Camera every night.
Does anyone here know how weird it is
it.
to fall asleep to the voice of William Shatner every night? Because it's weird.
So there was one episode, and The Unexplained, and it was about Satan. And he does an intro to every episode where he's like, oh, I'm trying to think of one that's not saying, okay, cults. What makes these people so engaging? How is it that some people have the power over others? This is what we're going to try to find out. Then, when we're talking about Satan, the whole studio was darker, and he was uplit, and he was talking as if it was the most dude, stop it. We know what you're doing. You're adorable, and you're a goddamn legend. We know this. Just give me the show.
No, honey, there's drama.
I was trying to explain to one of my coworkers who is considerably younger than me who William Shatner is and the cadence of his speech. And he's like, why does he talk like that? I go, nobody knows. He just does.
It's so much greatness emanating from him, it cannot be contained.
He has to pause in between syllables.
Listen, if he doesn't, the universe could end.
So, that's what we've been watching. What about you guys?
Karen, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I can cover all the non-together stuff pretty quickly. I finished the current season of Call the Midwife, season 10.
Wow.
Impressive that show has been going for 10 years.
Is it been 10 years? Are they're seasoned years?
It's one a year.
Gotcha.
It's the typical British. We do 6 or 8 episodes a year, and then we're done, and fuck you and wait for it.
Hashtag not bitter.
Here's a Christmas special. I hope it holds you over another 6 months or whatever. And I'm down to the last episode of the current season of Great British Baking Show, which has been great. And I'm sad that it's going to be, I'm like, running out of comfort food. What am I going to do? And then I remembered that when I first got into British Baking Show earlier this year and I ran out of it, I discovered that there was the holiday seasons. And I haven't watched any of them yet because I was like, I'm going to save those for the holidays. And now it's the holidays, so that's what I'm going to move on to.
Nice.
I've been watching, some more season 6 Doctor Who and some Schitt's Creek in my downtime, which has not been much. And Kris and I together watched something kind of weird today.
Okay.
A friend of ours was, I guess, contacted by this show, or maybe they applied to be on it, I don't know, called Roots Less Traveled. It's like a genealogy show on NBC, sponsored by Ancestry.com, and you can tell because they say it every 5 seconds. And also, there's more, commercial than show. Even when the show is going on, you can tell there just isn't a lot here.
Okay.
And then in between, I don't know when the last time you watched a live broadcast show where you couldn't skip the commercials. Holy shit, there was a lot of commercials. Anyway,
never.
So this was our friend Jim and his sister got to fly out to California. They're Japanese American, and they got to fly out to California and find out about their great grandparents, when they immigrated from Japan, and the ship they came over on, and the farm that they started, and then what happened to them during World War II, and they had the Japanese internment camps and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And for all the padding, there were really good, cute nuggets of information. It would have been better as a web series than as a full half-hour TV show. It is? But it was cute, and Jim is a voiceover actor.
Okay.
So, it was very funny watching him on TV, and he's obviously these things that they were learning about their family were affecting in some way, but since we know Jim personally, we know how he is, and that we see him on TV, we're oh, he's laying it on thick.
That dude's acting right now.
He is acting with a capital A.
I know how Jim talks, and that's
acting.
And he's great too. Give Jim Yamaguchi all the jobs. I mean, that dude, he's one of my oldest friends.
If you need a voiceover actor, please look him up. I mean, if you just Google Jim Yamaguchi, you'll find his website.
Yeah, and it's still weird to me. His house was the first place I ever saw some of Star Wars. And speaking of anime, he was the one who got me into stuff like Vampire Hunter D and whatnot. And I used to hang out at his house all the time, and I've been friends with him forever, but I haven't really been friends with his sister forever. But so now his sister's an adult, and every time I see her, it's bugs me the hell out, because she was this tiny little kid running around while me and Jim were playing as high school kids, and now she's a grown-ass adult, and it always weirds me out. I'm what? It really weirds me out.
You're old.
Yeah, old. But anyway, it was still a fascinating little thing, and good for Jim being on TV and whatnot. But yeah, if you're out there in the market for somebody to do some voiceover acting, get Jim Yamaguchi. He's good stuff.
This episode brought to you by
Hashtag not sponsored.
And then I think that the only other joint thing that I should cover before I let Kris jump in is Doctor Who, the current season, which we're a week behind on because there was a football game on this week.
You may have heard Karen screaming from what state are you guys in?
Wherever you are, you may have heard me screaming about this week's Sunday Night Football, but that's a podcast for another podcast. So we missed this week's Doctor Who, but as of last week's, which is halfway through this mini-series event that they're doing, we are entertained, and we have no idea what the fuck is going on. The show has gone so far up its own ass that we're like, huh?
What?
Who are these? What is going on? What?
Here's where I'm going to slightly disagree. I don't think it's gone so far up its own ass because it's not pissing me off. Whereas this show has definitely gone very far up its own ass before. This is more like it's gone too far down a rabbit hole. Whereas it's like, I don't think you can keep all these plates spinning. Because it starts off and it's just like, here's a fuckload of plates. I emptied out every cabinet in the house. They're all spinning. They're all on sticks. Here's all of them. And then the first episode ends and it's like, okay, I've learned nothing except that there's a lot happening right now. But I'm also more entertained than I have been since Chibnall took over. Like, I really liked a bunch of it at first. It was a little off, and I was like wanted to catch its footing. I loved that episode they did with like the Daleks, which was the first thing that they had done with a previous Doctor Who villain. And I'm like, all right, everything's going good. And then it crawled so far up its own ass, and the more I think about the last chunk of it, it just makes me angry, especially all the stuff they did to change the Doctor character into like the Chosen One instead of, you know,
The Doctor?
Instead of the Doctor. That whole thing, every time I think about it, it makes me more angry at the way that they changed the Doctor's past, or like not even changed, just solidified. No, there was like a whole buttload of regenerations before the first Doctor, and like he's the first ever Time Lord or something like that, and the Doctor's like the Chosen One, and I don't know, it just seemed like they're really cheapened and futz with what I liked about the character and its mythology in the first place. It's like, you didn't need to answer that question, and now that you have,
you're tied down by it.
You're tied down by it. It's like they did damage, and I'm not, it makes me so mad. But this is fun. Like, for all as convoluted as it is, and it is complicated as all heck, there's a freaking dog soldier that looks like the costume must have cost like $50, and it's great. Like, it is reminding me of the Doctor Who that I really enjoyed, which is the reason I like the show in the first place. Like, it's fun. It's not, she's not calling anyone fam, which was really starting to piss me off. Like, that whole fam thing was bothering me. And like, it's working. Like, it's really working. And now I'm like, all right, so this is working now that you've hit your stride after doing some damage, and this is the end. So, all right, good times. But yeah, it's not hitting me as it's not hitting me as pretentious. It's not hitting me as just doing crazy things for the sake of doing crazy things. Like, it's just having fun. Like, this new companion dude is fun to watch. I thought I was really going to miss, was it Graham and
Ryan?
And honestly, I don't. Like,
Graham and Ryan who?
Yaz, new old white guy, and the Doctor is a pretty great combo. So yeah, I'm having fun with it. It's the most. I feel like I'm the most entertained by it that I have been in quite a while.
It's the most excited you've sounded.
Maybe, I think maybe like up its own ass was the wrong turn of phrase, but it's just so convoluted.
Yeah, that's the word.
And the feeling that I am getting off of it is that this would be awesome if you could binge it all at once. Like, if this was streaming and all the episodes dropped at once.
That's a good point, yeah.
Like, you weren't, like, waiting a week and, like, forgetting half of what happened and being like, what the fuck? They give you, like, little crumbs and nuggets in an episode, and then, like, you have to wait an entire week until the next episode.
And sometimes they don't even pay off in the next episode.
Right. So, like, this particular series would have been a better fit for streaming and dropped all at once rather than released week to week.
And BBC America still sucks.
They still suck. They still take a little, like, clip of an episode and throw it in the middle of a commercial break and make you think that the show is back, and then they're like, stay tuned. Here's some more commercials. Fuck off.
Like, here's a snippet from part of the episode you haven't seen yet.
That doesn't make sense.
Want to see more? Yeah, it's why I'm watching the TV show, you fucking ass clowns.
They do it to make you, like, stop fast forwarding through the commercials, and then, like, you think, oh, this wasn't it. Well, it must be like 1 or 2 commercials away from coming back, so I'm not going to keep fast forwarding because I might miss something and have to go back. And it's just easier to sit here and watch the commercials, and that's why they do it, because they're assholes. Don't at me. Anyway.
Sounds like they think we're assholes, which is why they're doing it.
That's about it for me. I'm sure Kris needs lots of time for things.
Yeah, I've been watching all kinds of fun stuff.
All right.
All right, let's see. My Dragon Ball Z escapades continue with John, which has been especially fun because Karen's been in the room for some of it.
Not by choice. The renovations at our house have begun, and making my office basically like unusable during the day.
Less yay.
So I like when the kids are in school, I'm fine. Like, I'm in the living room or the dining room working, but then the kids come home and they're also in the living room and the dining room. So, because there's less places we can all go. So, right. I am sitting there during snack time and Dragon Ball Z.
Which is, it's the show is incredibly gawky. And I mean, I love this show. It's something I grew up with, and I love the world that it builds, the characters, the mythology. But it's like I don't have the actual show memorized, and every time certain characters show up, I start getting this pit in my stomach. Like, shit, Bulma's on screen. She's gonna say something like really not cool. Because Dragon Ball Z is pretty not great with women. Like, really, there's some pretty... They're not kind to women in that show. Or if Master Roshi's on screen, I'm just like, come on, don't grab anybody's ass. He grabbed a nurse's ass. Okay, but they kind of blew past it real quick. I don't think John needs an explanation for this one. So, that stuff's still there, and that's always going to bug me, at least until you get to... like the last season of the show, they actually start treating, they start having some female characters worth a damn. Not that Bulma's not worth a damn, it's just like she's also an incredibly stuck-up, spoiled snob, and it's like she's the only female presence on the show besides Gohan's overbearing mother. And like, come on, man. I know this is 80s in Japan, but still, some of that's a little hard to watch today. But, everything else, John's really enjoying it. He's loving the fights, and he's loving the characters, and the story moves at a freaking snail's pace. So, like, he's completely following the story because it's like, all right, here's like 45 seconds of plot, and now a bunch of screaming and fighting. it's a good time. The other thing that's kind of making me nervous, though, is, like, there's a part coming up that's pretty gruesome, and that's the part that I'm not sure what to do about. Like, right now we've had one like legitimately gruesome thing happen, but it was to an alien, a Namek, and like they have purple blood and whatnot, so it didn't strike him as like, it didn't really hit him all that hard. Like, a character goes behind somebody and just puts his hand through his chest, and like it comes out the other side, and there's purple blood everywhere, and like,
I remember that scene.
Yeah, but like Frieza's gonna kill Krillin. But before he kills Krillin, he's gonna like impale him on his head and like jump up and down while he's bleeding out and like laughing the whole time. Like, it's fucking gruesome.
It's sinister.
That's the thing. It's sinister. Like, that's what makes it so effective, because like this is a character that you genuinely like. He's Krillin. He's the good guy.
Yeah.
And he just gets destroyed. Now, it's fun, amusingly enough, he doesn't die from that because, Dende's there and he heals him. But, then Frieza just blows him up afterwards. It's like, but that particular scene is coming, and like, that's gruesome and like sinister, and I don't know how he's going to feel about it, and I'm not sure what to do about it. It's probably like, let's see, we're on Namek, so everything goes slow, so it's probably like a couple of months away at least, because there's so much to do first before Frieza even stands up. Like, we just got to Guru, so we've got to... Zarbon just beat the piss out of Vegeta, which is always cathartic. Vegeta's got to go heal. Then he's got to fight Zarbon again. Who he's going to do that in front of Bulma, who's going to get out and be like, "Oh, Zarbon, he's so attractive," and then he's going to turn into a monster and scare the shit out of her. And it's like, "Oh, cool, you've made Bulma even more fickle and shallow. Hooray, show!" But then the Ginyu Force is going to show up. So then they got to go through the entire Ginyu Force fight. Then Goku's going to show up. He's going to fight Captain Ginyu, and then he's going to, like, you know, do the whole body switch thing, and then Goku's going to be out of commission for a while, and then they're going to start fighting Frieza, and then they're going to start fighting his second form, and then they're going to start fighting his third form, and then they're going to start fighting his fourth form, and then Goku's going to show up, and it's like, holy shit, we're going to be here for years. The Namek Saga is long.
So he might be old enough to see this gruesome
Yeah,
thing
true.
by the time you
Yeah, he'll be mature enough to be...
It's kind of a moot point at this, right?
He'll be ready to graduate college by the time Frieza impales Krillin, but I don't know. It's stuff to think about. It's wild. The version that we're watching, I think I mentioned it before, is the Dragon Box, and it's making me happy because it is the American voiceovers, so we don't have to contend with subtitles, but it's all the Japanese music and sound effects, and that's like, it's 80s anime, you know? All that music, the really lo-fi sound quality and the sound effects is so it's so specific of that era, and I love that he's like, he knows this music now, and like he won't let me skip the intro music with Head Chala. And when they do the whole recap from the previous episode, he's humming the music along with me, and like, it makes me so happy. It makes me so happy.
Nice.
So, I mean, I'm on my phone for half the episodes because I know when shit's coming. I'll be like, well, they're not going to do anything for 5 minutes, so I'm going to see what's going on Twitter. Like, they're going to do nothing at all. And then, like, oh, Zarbon's going to transform, and all right, let me watch him beat the ever-living crap out of Vegeta. Oh, all right, good times. Oh, yeah. It's fun.
And back to my phone.
Can I throw in a kid thing that I forgot to mention?
Sure.
It's not exactly a TV show. It's a series of shorts on Disney Plus came out that we have been dying over. For those of you who haven't seen Frozen 2, there's a part where the group of main characters encounter a bunch of characters that were not in Frozen 1, and they're like, who the hell are you? And then Olaf gets up in front of them and basically recaps everything that happened in Frozen 1 and the beginning of this movie for these people who we've just met, in a very like comedic Olaf style.
Okay.
And so Disney took that and like decided to make a series of shorts called Olaf Presents, where he retells other Disney movies in his signature style, and it's fucking hysterical. We like binged them. They're like 5 minutes a piece, and I think there's 5 of them or something, so we binged them all together with the kids.
Here's the very important question.
Yes.
Would it go well with Forky?
Yeah, I swear to God, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, that
We
reminds me
still
of
haven't seen the Forky stuff because we haven't watched Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
Forky
asks a question.
I don't know.
I can only imagine that, yes, it would go well together with that. But
Bet
they
I'm
do
on
what?
board.
Lion King,
Little Mermaid, Lion King,
Moana, and Aladdin, I think.
and Tangled.
Oh, and Tangled.
This sounds amazing. I need to see
Yeah,
Yeah,
this.
they're pretty great. That's what her quote from the beginning was. You'll be
Yes.
half a fish and you'll like it.
That's Ariel's dad. You'll be half a fish and you'll like it. And like, they're extremely quotable, and now like John is the age where he like gets quoting things can get you a laugh, and so he does it, or like he just does it to amuse himself, and like, but he'll just like bust out something and, you know, crack me up.
Nice.
That's fantastic. Oh,
yeah,
that's
those
cool.
are pretty cool.
I guess I should
so-
finally see Frozen, huh, hon?
If you want to.
They're good. They're good
They're
Disney movies.
alright.
They're not like top tier, but they got some good moments in them. They got some good music. They got some good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you like Disney movies, see Frozen, because that's what they are. They are friggin' Disney musicals.
I knew all of those songs before actually watching the movies because of the little girls that like by the apartment in the complex that I used to live in. They would all be outside, like literally right outside my apartment, just running around, screaming and hooting and hollering and singing those songs endlessly.
That's right. Evan knows the little girls. It didn't sound creepy at all when he started telling that story.
Yeah, following them around.
It sounds like he's still mad at them, but really, Evan, you should probably just let it go.
Let it go, little girl.
Wait, hold on. I gotta find the Discord chat so I can hang up.
Oh man. Anyway.
All right, let's see. Anyway, what else we got? We've been continuing Lock and Key. We got to a... Did you guys poke around with that at all?
Not yet.
No.
All right. I mean, I won't spoil much of anything. We got to a pretty fun cliffhanger. I really want to see what happens next. But then Cowboy Bebop came out and was like, all right, we got to watch some of this before this week's episode so we can talk about it. But Lock and Key's has still been pretty great. I don't recognize any of this plot stuff at all. So it's pretty neat.
So it's new
to me. It just feels new to me in a way that the previous season didn't. Because like the previous season was like, you know, they're effectively doing the same story, but they're cramming a whole lot of it into one season and skipping over a bunch of stuff. And then at the very end of it, they introduced one of the aspects that they completely skipped over in season one. I'm like, well, what the fuck are you going to do with this now? And apparently they're going to do a bunch of neat new stuff. So that's been fun. I've been really enjoying it, and I can't wait to see how this season ends. But let's see. Before I figure we'll finish on Cowboy Bebop.
Yes, sounds good.
I was floating through Twitter the other day, and I saw somebody post a screenshot from Police Squad that made me laugh out loud, and I was like, well, I'm just going to watch an episode of Police Squad over lunch. But the quote was like Leslie Nielsen inside somebody's office, like, who are you? How did you get in here? I'm a locksmith, and I'm a locksmith. Yeah.
Oh, Leslie Nielsen.
Fantastic. So I watched I picked like episode 4 or something of Police Squad. There's like, what, 6 episodes of that show? Absolutely
like
brilliant. The show is just insanely hilarious. I watched it over lunch the other day. I was cracking up. I want to watch the rest of those over lunch over the next like several weeks. I'll probably pick like 1 or 2 a week to watch over lunch because, man, that show is funny. The other one that I've been watching, I've been doing this at night, like trying to take like 1 before bed. I'm only like 3 in, but I finally started watching Fooly Cooly Progressive because the original show is inexplicably one of my favorite animes. It hit at this point in my life where the music resonated with me so much, and the story is nonsense, but the animation is so gorgeous that like the combination of the animation and the art direction and the music was just enough to make me love this show way more than makes sense to me. But I just freaking love the original Fooly Cooly. And then they did the sequel series, and I never got around to watching them. So I don't know what struck me about it, but I had like some time, at some point before going to bed or something, and I said, you know what, I'm going to use this time to try this Fooly Cooly season 2 out. Let's see what that's like. And I started watching it, and it's pretty good. It's definitely more Fooly Cooly. It's not hitting me the same way that the first season did, because there's this like weird magic about season 1, but it's, the same voice actress is playing Haruko, and it's really just great seeing that character in motion again. And it's got a weird plot once again that's kind of making sense, and it looks like it's tying into the previous season, so I'm curious kind of how it's going to fill up that connective tissue. But it got me on this major pillows kick.
Oh my god, nothing but pillows in the house whenever he's in control of the stereo.
Welcome.
If anybody doesn't know, the band who did the music for Fooly Cooly was The Pillows, and I bought back when Fooly Cooly aired in America on Adult Swim, I wound up buying the soundtracks, and like I just loved that music to death. And that was before regularly being able to just like pick stuff off the internet as cohesive as you could now.
Right.
So I got like 3 or 4 other songs from the Pillows that were I did not assigned to any like specific albums or anything, and that was like all I had. But then I was like, whoa, I wonder if Evan can get me music. So Evan got me all of the Pillows, and like now I know where not only all the songs from the first season of Fooly Cooly, like their actual albums that they came from, which is super fascinating to me hearing them in context of the albums that they were written for, because I've only ever known them in the context of those soundtracks and when they happen in the show. But like, so now I'm listening to these albums from like the mid to late 90s that the Pillows did, where these songs all came from in the context of the albums that they were written for, and it's really, really freaking cool. And then, of course, so I'm discovering all this new Pillows music, including newer stuff that they released on albums between these new seasons of Fooly Cooly in 2019 and the series that aired originally. So, like, I'm hearing all this new music by this band that I adore. Like, because seriously, I mean, I absolutely love this band, and these 3 soundtrack CDs I played them to death, and I absolutely love them. And I can't believe I've never really gone back and said, you know what, I should really start buying their albums and really listening to more of their music. I can't believe I've never gotten around to doing it until now. But now I have, and it's just been wonderful listening to all this music that Evan got me. And I'm gonna stick with the show just to kind of see where it goes. I don't think it's gonna ultimately match how I felt about the original show, because like it just happened at this weird point in my life where it landed perfectly. But
so you're saying Fooly Cooly progressive, is that seasons within Fooly Cooly, or is it a whole different
season? Yeah, season 2 is called Fooly Cooly Progressive.
Okay.
And then season 3 is Fooly Cooly whatever the hell. I don't remember what the other one is. But yeah, well, I don't know if is the show actually called Fooly Cooly or FLCL. I don't know.
It's FLCL.
Yeah. Because like it's written FLCL, but then anytime it's like when they were airing it on Adult Swim, they would call it Fooly Cooly.
Yep.
And like that's a thing they say in the show, and I don't know, the whole thing's weird. But
it is weird. It's surprising to hear you talk about it, because I had a friend try really hard to get me into it because they thought I would react the way that you did. I did not. I didn't like it. It's
freaking weird, man. I had us do an episode on this show ages ago, and I had no expectations that anyone else besides me would enjoy it. But like, there are certain bits of it that I find just jaw-droppingly gorgeous. Like,
the animation was beautiful. It pissed me off that I didn't like it more, because I was like, I should like this. Like, this should be a thing that I like. And I was like, but I don't. Couldn't get into it.
Yeah, because the story's nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's complete and utter nonsense for sure. But there's these moments where, like, in the first series of the show, like, where he pulls the guitar out and hits the baseball that's the asteroid that's headed toward Earth, and like it lines up with this song called Crazy Sunshine just amazingly, and it's the sky turns red, and it doesn't make any sense, but it's gorgeous, and I just think the whole thing's jaw-dropping. But I would not blame anybody for not liking it. I'm not even sure why I like it as much as I do, because I feel like I shouldn't, because of how freaking weird the rest of it is. But I don't know.
All I remember is the robot coming out of his forehead, right?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like,
oh, it's just weird for me.
Yeah, there's a whole thing with like these people can hit somebody and then use their heads as like an interdimensional portal to pull things out of. But it's also got a lot of really weird sexual undertones. It's like it's all over the friggin' place, man. Speaking of anime that I learned about from Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, let's talk about Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
Well, I don't think there's any arguing that the music is still great.
Oh, yes.
The music is still great. I'm curious, how did you guys feel about the episode you watched?
Evan, you go first.
I enjoyed it. I was like oddly surprised that they actually did. They're redoing it. They're just, or at least the first episode was a live version of the first.
For the most part, yeah, that was the first episode of the show.
That surprised me. I thought it was going to be new content, and it was neat to see live action versions of a cartoon that did not seem super cartoony to me. It's hard for me to explain, but I enjoyed it. I thought they did a good job. Hun?
Not a fan. I feel like it's a hit, a swing and a miss. I feel like they tried. I appreciate the efforts that they're making, but I felt as though now I should also clarify, like, I have not seen the whole anime, so maybe I'm missing some aspects of the characters that are being portrayed early on in this show that, maybe I'm missing the essence of that now because I haven't seen as much. But to me, it felt like there was something so fluid about Spike in the animated version, and this live action version of him feels a little bit more stiff. Like, it doesn't feel as fluid. It doesn't feel quite the same for a character. And some of the acting, it felt weird. Like, it felt like acting. And I know, like, sometimes what happens with stuff that's an adaptation of an anime, the actors will intentionally do that kind of thing, at least in like J-dramas and Korean stuff that I've watched. But this didn't feel like the intentional overacting of one of those shows. It actually felt to me like just overacting. And I did not feel compelled. Like, I was actually doing other things while the episode was on. It didn't even hold my attention enough to like really invest myself fully in watching the episode. Even some of the fight scenes, I felt like some of the fighting was, I don't know, like it was cool to watch some of it, and then there were other times where I was like, wow, I feel like I could actually see the stunt like happening. Like it looked like a stunt. It looked rehearsed, and it looked like some of it I was like, I just could tell that was choreographed, and like that kind of sucked for me because I don't know if maybe I was just not in the right headspace to be watching it, or that is actually the case, and maybe it's intentional, or I don't know, maybe I'm just being too critical, but like I wasn't excited to go to the next episode, and I really did not expect to feel that way. Like, I thought I was going to be super into this. So yeah, so that's kind of what my takeaway was on the first episode. It's not like Lock and Key where I viscerally am like, no, I don't want this. I will definitely continue giving it a try. It didn't grab me the way that I guess I thought it was going to.
It's funny to hear you say that because I was certain this was going to be your reaction.
Really?
100% certain. I was like, yeah, she's not going to like this.
Why?
It struck me as the kind of thing that you would just not enjoy. Pretty much everything you're saying about it does not surprise me in the least to hear from you.
See, but that's so weird to me because, like, I thought, like, this, like, the martial arts in the anime is super cool. Like, the drama is super compelling. The characters are really interesting, and they're still caricatures of, like, because it's still anime. Like, I don't know. I was surprised, and I'm surprised that you weren't. And I'm also like slight pet peeve, but like I don't like the way they did Faye's hair because I kind of thought that they could have made it a little bit purpler. Just saying. As a person with extremely purple hair, I know it was possible.
Purpler.
Yes.
Purpler. Got it.
A little bit more purple.
Because I mean, I'm going to friggin' monologue for a while, so
We know. So my baseline for Cowboy Bebop is that I've seen it before. I've maybe seen it twice, but I don't have that strong nostalgic attachment to it that the rest of some of you may have. And I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun to watch. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the banter and the chemistry between them. Everything that I like, it was like bringing up vague, like wafting recollections of like, oh yeah, this was in the show. Like I remember this a little bit. And I kind of like the way they did, like the casino. That was cool. There were just scenes where it was just kind of like I could see the cartoon inspiration, but also like I see what they did with it, and I felt like they did a good job with it. And that's me being a person who is not, again, very attached to the original, so I'm a bad source for like how good of an adaptation it is. But I thought all three of the three main leads were good. Not a huge fan of the like bad guy with the long white hair. Like he was annoying, but I think he's supposed to be annoying. Yeah, I think that is about all I have to say that's of any value.
All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to take a quick break.
All right, I'll try to keep my thoughts to a minimum. I overall am very much enjoying it because I just went in with some pretty different expectations. I know exactly what you're talking about, Angie, with the fight scene. That's like, yeah, that was choreographed. I saw that. Like, I knew exactly what you were saying. But other fight scenes have been very much not that. So like I felt like I was one specific one, I think, in that first scene in the casino that I looked at and was like, yeah, that was a little rough, man.
Yes, that's exactly.
You could have done better.
Yeah.
But the other ones have very much impressed me. I just like Karen, I love the banter between Spike and Jet. I think those two are great together.
That
and
was
I thought
good.
Faye was pretty great too. Like, that's great. But you're 100% right. As a character, Spike was way more he more fluid, I guess, is just kind of what I'm talking about. Like, John Cho's fighting like he's in a kung fu movie, and Spike was like an extremely zen Bruce Lee. And I think it's the medium. Like, I don't think you can do that. I just don't think I don't think that would translate.
Think about Drunken Master. Like, think about like Jackie Chan. Like, you can like Spike Lee, not Spike Spiegel.
Movie.
Yeah, totally different. Totally different. Sorry.
Now I want to see that.
Spike Lee's Drunken Master.
I thought you meant Spike Lee's Cowboy Bebop.
No, Spike Spiegel, sorry, is a very different fighting style, but I would say that from what I have seen, his movements would remind me a little bit more of a drunken fighting style, or something that has like a little bit more fluidity, like Tai Chi. And I think Aikido, which is one where you use like
I was
people's...
just going to say Aikido, where you're using... that was his whole thing, where it's all about using your opponent's force against them.
Right.
That was kind of his thing, and he's fighting a little bit more, just more offensive.
Yes. And
at this point.
And like, I'm not going to not... Like, you guys know I typically get excited, like, if there's fighting in good fight scenes, good martial arts, I get pretty into stuff. And for me to not be grabbed by this when so much of that character is built around that aspect, like, I was very surprised. I do like a lot of other things about it, but yeah, I would say I'm glad that you understand where I'm coming from. I'm just like, I guess I'm slightly disappointed in me because I don't feel like it's something the show is doing wrong. I just feel like it's my response.
I mean, well, I think that's the thing, is that the show isn't... It depends on what you want to get out of it. Like, I can't shake the feeling that this is all incredibly pointless because it's not doing anything better than the anime, but it is fascinating for me to watch. I was talking to Matt much about this. Like, I'm never going to watch this again.
Yeah.
But I'm really enjoying watching it now. Like, I'm going to go back to the anime, definitely, because I tend to do that every couple of years. It's wonderful. But this one, it's stretching it into hour-long episodes. The anime wasn't hour-longs, and this is what's making me find it entertaining is that this was clearly made by people who love Cowboy Bebop. Like, it doesn't strike me as something that was made like just to try and cash in on something. It looks like there was a lot of reference put into this because there's a lot of goofy stuff going on, and it's not all like, this is here because it looks cool and for absolutely no other reason. Like, it's going for that kind of weird half anime look, and I appreciate that. And also, everyone seems to be having fun, and that's that's coming through in their performances, even when I'm not. Almost everyone. I'll get to that in a minute. That's what's really keeping me going. Pretty much everything that it's involved, Spike, Jet, and Faye, has been great to me. I've just been genuinely enjoying it, even when it's like Spike's not quite matching the Spike from the show for the anime, but I also like this Spike. Like, I've already reconciled. Like, this isn't going to be the same Spike. Jet, on the other hand, is freaking me out because he sounds exactly like that cartoon voice actor. The American cartoon voice actor for Spike, he sounds freakishly like him, and it's bugging me out. In a good way. I love listening to him talk. But, like, man, in that first episode when Spike impersonated him... They get those little moments between the two of them really well, and I like what they did with Faye as a character. She seems a little bit less crappy anime character. Like, Faye was still great, but she wasn't as well developed as the other ones, I think, in certain ways. Like, I don't want to say realistic, but like likable. And she's still kind of a shit, but in a really likable kind of way, not like kind of a weak sort of way. You know, anime's not always great to women, and I love her new outfit. I love the fact that she's wearing clothes. That's great. I found it a little weird that she went toe to toe with Spike in a fight, because like that's weird. Like, Spike's supposed to be like a kind of insanely good fighter, and Faye, that was never really her thing. So like, that she went toe-to-toe with him in a fight was kind of weird to me, but whatever. Then they tied her up in the bathroom, and it made me laugh. I loved it. I loved that. And the look is, again, it's odd. The purple hair didn't bug me because I kind of felt like, I guess you have more experience with purple hair than I do, obviously. But the amount of purple that's in her hair is what I always imagined it looking like in the show. Because, you know, when you're at her hair had so much black in the way it was drawn because they're so frequently in space. And like, so seeing it in actual natural lighting, I guess that's what I always that's the level of purple I always imagined it would be. So that's one point I'll kind of disagree with you on, but I think it's all interpretation because we're talking about, you know, interpreting drawings into live action. So,
well, I think
also,
it's.
If I can,
go ahead, Karen.
If I can chime in, because hair is something I know something about.
Yeah.
Since her costume was more like realistic to life than her anime costume, I feel like her hair is that version. Is the same version of that. It's like, okay, this is what this character's purple hair would look like if she were the type of person to wear the type of outfit that she's wearing in the live action.
That's
like,
interesting.
Her she doesn't seem like the kind of person who would put so much maintenance into her hair that it would always be like this amazing, you know, vibrant purple and full coverage and all of that. It would be like, she fucked around with some purple and she thought it was pretty cool, but she really doesn't have time to keep up with that kind of shit.
So her hair wouldn't be meant to be purple as in like that's her hair color. It would have been dyed in the show, like in the anime.
Well, I don't think it's
like,
fashionable. It's just the function of the hair. Like, I don't think she's doing it to look the way it
because
is.
if a person, the thing is like, this is like so specific. I didn't care enough that I felt that this needed to be the conversation. But just to be clear, I've had multiple different kinds of purples. So you can have like a more black hair color that has like a purple sheen to it, and then you can have like what she had, which to me just kind of looked like an artificial, almost like a spray-in hair color type thing. Now, again, I didn't watch the episode closely, but there were just a few times where I looked at it in the light and I was like, like, it could have looked, there were other ways that it could have been done, and that's only because I know this from experience and from studying this kind of thing, because I've done it to myself or helped others to accomplish it. Not really a big deal, like, is not a deal breaker for her look at all. I loved everything else about her costume. I just thought it was a weird choice in the casting, or like in the costume design. Like, I think if I read something that gave me an explanation as to like why it was done or like what the choices were, I would be cool with it. Like, it's not, I don't know. I'm not like, oh, it's bad. Like, it's amateur. Like, no, I'm literally just like, oh, it was a weird choice, and like, I just wish it was a little more purple because that would have been cool. That's it.
Fair enough. So yeah, overall, I'm digging it. I like the look. I like the way the spaceships look. I like how they're using the original show's music in interesting ways. Like, it's not all in the same place.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
And you guys, he was like gleefully clapping when certain tracks would come on.
That's so cute.
I love this
It's
show's
very
soundtrack.
cute.
It's so. This is another one. My DVD box set for Bebop came with the soundtrack CD. So like, I've been listening to this music outside of the show for decades now, and it's so good, and I love that. Here's what I don't like: is pretty much everything with Vicious and Julia is just terrible.
Yes.
Is brutally awful. I am enjoying the hamminess of a lot of the delivery, except with Vicious. Vicious, the stuff with Vicious, Spike, and Julia always struck me as some of the weaker stuff in the original show, if it were to like really just look at it in a vacuum. But it was insanely effective because there was exactly enough of it. It was just the right, because it was just there in the background the whole time. There were these self-contained things, and there was this weird shit with the Syndicate and Vicious and Spike's past going on in the background the whole time. This one, they're like, now Vicious is a character, and he's married to Julia, which is weird, and he's going to have like all kinds of feelings and stuff. And in the show, Vicious was vicious. He was this mostly silent force of nature asshole with a sword. Like, he was just evil. And that was all you needed to know about him. He's a bad guy named Vicious, for crying out loud. Like,
What
that
else
was
do you
all
need?
there needed to be.
Yeah.
And now it's just like he's having out with the Syndicate. He's apologizing and he's showing humility and he's trying to convince Julia that he loves him and stuff. Like, what the hell are you doing? This is so completely unnecessary. Like, the whole show is unnecessary, but somebody somewhere said, you know what? We're going to try to do this in live action. We've got the budget for it. Fuck it. Let's give it a try. It'll be fun. And it is fun. It's a fun experiment, and I'm enjoying it. Keep having fun with it. This weird expansion of Vicious's character, though, is like, it is rubbing me every kind of the wrong way. Like, Julia was always kind of a nothing character to begin with. So if they were going to flesh anybody out, like, flesh out the love of Spike's life, because Spike's a fascinating character and he fell in love with a box of cardboard. And Vicious is just like asshole with a sword, who I think was jealous of Spike because of Julia. There was definitely something between the three of them, but not this. And I'm not enjoying it at all. I don't like any piece of that. It's not entirely sure I like any piece of it. I like how they're kind of weaving the episodes together a little bit with the Syndicate related stuff, because the second episode was the teddy bomber, the dude who was like blowing up shit with the teddy bears,
Right.
and they kind of tied a little bit of that into the Syndicate as well. So like, that's what's kind of showing the Syndicate and Vicious that Spike's still alive, and they're calling Spike Fearless, which I think is neat. I don't remember that from the original show. I could be wrong.
I was going to ask you because I'm like, that is not familiar to me at all, but I'm a terrible source for that.
And like, I've watched the show dozens of times, but I don't remember Spike having the name Fearless before. And I think that's really cool, because like, it made sense because he used to work with Vicious. So like, Vicious was his the other side. He was always like the other side of Spike, like the other side of that coin, so that he would have the name Fearless and Vicious is Vicious. I thought that was pretty cool. But I don't remember that from the original show. But I do think that's a neat change. Outside of that, though, everything they're pouring on with Vicious is really pissing me off. It's like it's not nearly enough to make me stop enjoying the show. And I'm not going to say like, oh, I freaking love this. It's fantastic. It's a masterpiece. It's like, it's neat. It's a lot of fun. I am having a lot of fun watching it, but that's as far as it's not holding the same kind of meaning to me as the original one. It's just like, wow, they're actually doing this shit in live action. That's pretty cool. Check it out. I can't wait to see Ein.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see Ed. I know I've seen the pictures of Ed online. Apparently Ed shows up like in the season finale or whatever.
I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
It's very literal interpretation of Ed, which is not
as
weird.
As you and I were discussing earlier, I had seen it, and like, even though the show is a cartoon, they're doing everything, and it's not cartoony. Like even Jax, like he's got a metal arm, he's got a plate on his face. It's not, and those mutton chops. It's still not coming off cartoony. Then I saw the imagery of Ed, and I went, huh. It looks like someone tried to draw Ed realistically.
Because like the only way Ed worked in the original show was like Ed was freaking Bugs Bunny in the middle of a live action show, right? Like pretty much everything in Cowboy Bebop wasn't done crazy exaggerated, but Ed moved like a cartoon character. Like her limbs bend in all kinds of weird directions. Like Ed was a freaking goofy ass thing. But and again, I'm pretty sure, and I haven't seen it, but I think the context is going to help with that a little bit, because I think Spike meets Ed in like when he's half unconscious or something, so it's supposed to look really weird and jarring.
Okay.
And I read an interview where they said that if they're lucky enough to get a season 2, they're gonna, explore more of the Ed stuff, and I think that's an interesting way to go. They wanted to establish the 3 mains before they brought Ed on, and that's kind of sort of the way it worked in the show too. Like Ed wasn't there in the beginning,
right?
And so I'm okay with that. I think I've said from the beginning, like how do you do Ed? How do you do that in live action? Because like I can't say this is the wrong way to do it, because I can't even imagine what the right way is.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
We'll see. So
I have to see it. I'm really looking forward to getting there and seeing it in action, because I'm not going to like just watch the scene like a goober. I'm not going to do that. Spoil it for myself. I want to see the whole thing through. So I don't know. It's campy. It's ridiculous, and I think it's fun. I don't know that I'm going to call it good, but it's definitely it's got its heart in the right place, and that goes a long way for me.
So going forward, do you think I'm going to continue to have the same feelings that you apparently knew I was going to have?
I don't know, because we only watched 2 episodes. We only got 1 more than you, so I don't know where it's going from here. I might hate it in 3 episodes. Who knows?
I want it to get drastically worse for her for some reason. Like I want to see visual hatred of it. Like throw things at the TV, and while I sit there, just whatever, it's a show kind of thing. Like,
Yeah,
I'm going to say the way that I've been enjoying it, and I guess first off, you said you'd never finished the anime.
No.
Like,
we should do that first.
Yeah.
Well, do you do that first, and that makes the show considerably
do that,
worse?
and then maybe go back to this. Don't waste your time with this. There's an actual masterpiece for you to watch. This is a kid with crayons trying to draw Michelangelo's David. Like, it's like, okay, but go look at the real one. All right, this is neat, and I'm glad it's here. You're having a good time. Good for you. Pat on the head. But like, the real one's there. Netflix has got it. Just do that. Do that before you do any more of this. And if you do go back to this, just go in with the mindset of just try and change the way you're looking at it. Like, this isn't meant to replace this or anything. This is just Bizarro World version of that, and try to take it for what it is. That's the best advice I have, because that's all I'm doing. I was not expecting great things out of this. There was always something a little. Right, we've been saying been tentatively optimistic about it, but like it's succeeding on that front. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I'm going to keep watching it.
Yeah, I do want to be clear. I didn't go into it thinking like, oh, this is going to be like the anime. Like, I had like no expectations because I don't know enough about the anime to really have expectations. But it was just, it didn't grab me. And I was surprised because I thought with everyone else and all the excitement that they had and that it's based off such a good anime, I was just surprised. But apparently I'm predictable.
And that's what she takes out of that. Okay.
Yeah. Kris knows.
Good times. All right. Well, I think with that, we should take ourselves a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the news, which there has been some of.
Yes.
Just a little.
Just a bit.
Just a little. You're listening to this week's episode from Geekade.com. Stick around. And now, here's a quick look at some of the other original content available now from our partners and Geekade.com.
First up, on an all-new Weekend Rental podcast, the gamers close out their massive Metroid discussion and look to the future of both the Uncharted movies and Xbox's marvelous Game Pass. And if that isn't enough to get your genes steaming, fierce competition ensues in round 2 of the Smash Music Quiz. Be sure to tune in to Weekend Rental episode 112, The Gamers Enter Uncharted Territory.
Hurt my heart. Next up, Halloween may be well behind us, but that doesn't mean you can't still enjoy a Castlevania game. In fact, there's no wrong time to enjoy a little Castlevania. At the grocery store, Castlevania. On the toilet, Castlevania. At your friend's dog's funeral, Castlevania. What of the Super NES classic Castlevania Dracula X? Is there a bad time to play that game? Greg and Joe dove into a bizarro port of Rondo of Blood to determine its worth. Is it more than a miserable little pile of secrets? Find out on the SNES podcast 176, Castlevania Dracula X.
Finally, on an all-new Stone Age countdown, Kris ranked the top 5 Ninja Gaiden games. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, he ranked the top 5 Ninja Gaiden games. That's cool. I hope Ninja Gaiden 2 for NES made the list. But if that's what you're expecting, you'd be wrong. Because he didn't rank the top 5 Ninja Gaiden games. He ranked the top 5 Ninja Gaiden games. As in, the top 5 games literally called Ninja Gaiden. Because there are enough of those to actually make a top 5 list. So do Kris and yourself a favor and check out the Stone Age Countdown Top 5 Ninja Gaidens on the Stone Age Gamer YouTube channel.
For all this great content and more from us and our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on Geekade.com. All right, hey, we're back. Ooh. We're back and better than ever, but you know what's not back is Why the Last Man. Oh, yeah. I didn't watch it. Now I know I don't have to. I'm just going to pretend it never existed. So Why the Last Man? According to Variety.com, Why the Last Man was canceled by FX. Hey, we're doing news, by the way. So,
Speed round, people.
I'm not sure that there's... I didn't read the article. I'm not sure I have to, because I feel like the headline says it all.
It's, I mean, for anyone who is like me, who's been like kind of meh about the show, basically what I've seen is that the reviews on the show overall are actually pretty good. A lot of it has turned out to be more about timing and uncertainty of the future of the show, and the fact that there were a lot of issues getting the show up off the ground, because apparently this has been in production since like 2015 or 16, with just delay after delay. And yeah, it looks like in 2015 the pilot was the rights were picked up, and then the pilot was supposed to be started in 2018. So it's just been one thing after another, and then the series was ordered in February 2019. So I did a little poking around on this just because I wanted to know if there was any explanation, and it looks like a lot of it just has to do with the timing, kind of screwing up schedules for everybody and just making production more expensive. And I do think that some of this really is the fact that, like, some of the writing was just not great. Like, I looked up another article by Hollywood Reporter, and it said that they had, like, a 73% rating among critics and a 67% score with Rotten Tomatoes, which I feel like is pretty decent. But overall, my feeling is, like, I'm really glad that it was so strongly female supported, because they had a lot of writers, directors, and just production crew that were female, and that's awesome. Like, I'm very excited to know that that was a part of it, but I think that this adaptation was lacking. And again, I didn't even bother finishing it, so the fuck do I know?
Was it Y the Last Man, the comic, written by a dude?
Yeah, it's written by Brian K. Vaughan, my favorite writer.
Just
my favorite comic writer.
Totally negated that because...
Well, because the thing is, like, the whole comic is, like, the premise of this comic is that, like, it's, you know, all women running the world now, and I thought that it was kind of cool when I read about the production of the show being largely run by women, and then just seeing that the show has flopped, like, I don't really understand everything that went into this, so I'm not just going to be like, well, that's what happens. Like, no, I don't know. It's just not, I didn't enjoy it, and I think that it kind of stagnated, but it's not coming back, so now I don't care. Now I'm going to watch it and figure out why I still hate it.
I have some breaking news here, thanks to the television channel over on our Discord. And honestly, Dean's opinion on it are really just... All right, IGN reports, Bel Air, first teaser of the Fresh Prince reboot, recreates the iconic theme song. This show is being rebooted as a drama.
What?
And Dean's response was, stop, no, fuck that.
Where is this? Because it's not in this week's episode.
No, it's on the television channel. Matt Much wanted to talk about Cowboy Bebop in the TWEP channel, and I said, like, let's not spoil anything on here. Let's go somewhere else. And so Dean reinstated the television channel, which has been incredibly active since that happened. And I want to try to steer things back over to TWEP from there. Because, you know, I like things going to the TWEP channel. But yeah, we had a whole big conversation about, like, what was better, Nickelodeon or Disney or something like that, and it was fun. But yeah, so okay. Yeah, I no. I'm just gonna go ahead and say no.
Yeah, I'll second
That's all
that
I have
now.
to say. No.
No thanks.
This
Pass.
is the Fresh Prince doesn't. I don't feel that Fresh Prince needs to be rebooted as a gritty drama. I don't feel like Fresh Prince needs to be rebooted. But hey, everything needs to be rebooted apparently. So
And gritty.
yeah, and gritty. Yeah. Anyway, Variety. This is a weird one. I don't know how to feel about this. This makes me nervous. History of the World Part 2, Variety series ordered at Hulu. Mel Brooks to write and executive produce.
I am so excited and so fucking curious to see how they pull this off.
It's been a long time.
I want to see Hitler on ice. I've been promised that for many, many years. God damn it, Mel
Jews in
Brooks delivered.
space.
Jews in space, Hitler on ice. You know, the classics.
This, the only thing that makes me nervous about this is Mel Brooks' age. Like, I
Yeah.
have no doubt Mel Brooks can do this, but how much longer is Mel Brooks going to be around?
That was literally going through my head, and I was like, don't be the one to say it. Thank you.
That
You're
loves us
welcome.
both.
I mean, that dude's like 150, and that guy has lived.
Well,
So-
apparently the writing happened in October. Like, the writing room was supposed to start, and then production is slated to begin in spring. So hopefully that means that all of the writing and important stuff is mostly worked out already, and everything will be great.
Ah, shit. I didn't realize the original came out in 1981. This movie's as old as I am.
Well,
Wow.
I've never seen it, so I guess I can add that to the
Really?
list too. Yep.
I've
Do
never
yourself
put that
a
on.
favor.
Yeah, dude.
It's
I'm not
worth
going to say,
it.
like, what? How dare you? But this is definitely a do yourself a favor one. This is a
That explains why you didn't laugh at my stand-up philosopher joke.
Sorry.
That's okay. Watch the movie and then you'll laugh.
yeah,
I mean,
that is-
I like
this
Mel
is a true
Brooks.
classic.
Yeah, I don't know why I've never seen it. It's just never come up. Like it's.
We will rectify that situation.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it since like high school, so that's way too long. I need to see this again. Classic.
There you go.
All right, no, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It can only it's a good thing. It just scares me for a number of reasons. Like you've now had 40 years of build up. Like, can it possibly live up to the
See,
live up
but
to the
here's
hype?
the thing: it was it's not a continuous 40 years of buildup. It is X amount of years of buildup. Then we forgot that it was supposed to be a thing, and it was just a funny joke at the end. And then 40 years later, we went, "What the fuck? What? A variety? What? Okay, I'm on board." By the way, Mel Brooks is 95 years old.
Oh my god.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But apparently he's still sharp enough to write. So do it.
Carl Reiner is gone, and this is my problem.
All right, next up, what do we got? Where are we at?
Next up, CBR.com. This was a fun thing that I followed for like a day before I decided I was out. Batwoman's Ruby Rose reveals horrifying set conditions, slams WB TV chief and Berlanti Productions. So Ruby Rose goes on. She laid bare a whole lot of things that the CW and stuff treated her really wrong.
Okay. Because that's not what she said at the beginning, right? If I remember correctly, she was just saying like if this is too much for me, or
I thought she just.
Yeah, when she left the show,
Yeah.
she didn't mention any of this stuff.
okay.
What and I didn't copy and paste the link like I should have, but like not long after this story came out, there were some other people that worked on the production that were like, this woman was a nightmare to work with. So I got to assume that the truth is somewhere between the two of them. Like it's a TV show, and working conditions are never as good as you want them to be on stuff like this, especially on a network that cranks out the products, but at the same time, like, you've got other people that say that Ruby Rose was not an easy person to work with. So I mean, I'm sure shit did not go well for her, and I'm sure that there was some degree of bad conditions, but I don't know. I mean, I don't personally know what to make of it, and then I decided I didn't care. It's like I don't know. I don't know what
Like
to think
when
of
I
this.
first read it, of course, if everything she's saying is true, is exactly the way she says it, of course that's horrible. The thing that I wonder is if it's systemic of Ball Berlanti Productions, then why isn't anybody else saying the same thing? Like, that dude made a lot of shows for the CW in the last 10 years.
Like a lot.
All of them. Didn't
like
he make all of them?
of them, basically.
And if this was really as bad as she's saying, and this production company as bad as she's saying, like, in these kinds of situations, you would typically see some other people start to fall in line behind her and be like, yeah, man, here's my story too. Like, usually some dominoes start falling, but I didn't see any of that.
And this came out nearly a month ago. This article.
Yeah.
So
either the CW is real good at hushing stuff up eventually, or I'm not saying that she didn't go through some bad situations. I'm definitely not saying that, but this is also not the first I've heard of Ruby Rose being a difficult person to work with. So I don't know.
Yeah, like, I'm
That's the
just
thing.
curious to know why she, like, I don't know. Timing is always so interesting to me because, like, even at the end of the article, they revisit, like, the timeline of, like, she left, she was pretty quiet about it and just, like, it wasn't a good fit. Then it was, like, a few days later, she kind of had, like, a statement about it. And then it's, like, several months later, she comes out about it. And it's, like, I'm wondering, like, what made her say something now? And also, like, if this is related to anything else that may have relevant timing. Like, did she get kicked off another project of some kind, and maybe now she's coming out to be like, I'm not the difficult one, look at what's happened to me. Like, I don't know. I really hope that, honestly, I hope some, as terrible as this might sound, I hope some of what she's saying is an exaggeration, because it otherwise makes it sound like she was literally living a nightmare, and so was everyone else around her, and they just went, it's television. And the only thing I can say to that otherwise is that I have a friend who works in television who's told me a little bit about what it can be like working on the sets and everything. And my understanding has been that basically, like, I don't know if it's different from company to company, but if something goes wrong, like, they have to deal with that stuff. Like, they don't have an option. Like, that's the first thing that they do is, like, legally, they're like, okay, what are we doing? Like they mentioned a thing where somebody got their degree burns, and she said that, like, somebody's face was literally melting off, like, and we didn't have a chance to get therapy. Like, okay, I don't know. Like, that just doesn't seem like what I've heard, but it could be different everywhere. Who knows? It's just really
certainly not
bizarre.
me.
Yeah.
Anyway, next up, Today.com is reporting Peter Scolari, Bosom Buddies Girls star, dies at 66.
It's a damn shame deal. I noted this because we are currently watching Evil, and he played an archbishop, if I'm not mistaken. He's on this show, so he was currently working on a project, and one of my favorite characters he played was in Bosom Buddies, like him and Tom Hanks.
Show's so great.
It's holds up oddly, like it's still entertaining, that show. So
Sad.
That's a huge bummer.
Yeah, it's a damn shame. All right, moving on. ScreenRant.com. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. ScreenRant.com. The Book of Boba Fett trailer, inheriting Jabba's throne and violent action. So we got a proper trailer for Book of Boba Fett. Looks pretty great. It seems to be a show about Boba Fett trying to take over the Hutt's crime syndicate after Jabba was killed in Return of the Jedi. Spoiler alert.
From 40 years ago.
So yeah, I'm into this. I think it looks great.
looks good to me. I mean, it's Boba Fett.
Agreed and co-signed.
So
Boba Fett.
Yeah,
Where?
like, what else do we even need to say at this point?
Yeah, seriously, like, we're getting more of Ming-Na's Fennec and, like, a freaking Boba Fett show where he's, like, being a crime lord.
Yeah, insert Stephen Colbert, give it to me now gif, and move on.
Yeah, right?
Seriously, like, I'm just 100% sold on this. Like, please, pile this on. Oh, goodness. Oh, that reminds me, I don't have a link for it or anything, but they seem to have announced the casting for Sabine Wren in the Ahsoka show, which is a character I was really hoping to see. So,
cool.
Us, Star Wars Rebels nerds are very happy about that. Any Hoosers. Yeah, Book of Boba Fett's going to be awesome. Big surprise. What do we got here? From SuperheroHype.com, Gail Garcia Bernal cast as Marvel's Werewolf by Night for Disney Plus Halloween special.
What's Werewolf by Night? I've never heard of that. That sounds so
I have no idea.
odd.
So here's the as I've noted in this conversation, like Werewolf by Night has a special place for me and for Moon Knight, which is coming out soon. I don't know what this Halloween special is, but as soon as I hear that there's an old Werewolf by Night back from the 70s, and then there's a new iteration, and like the Werewolf by Night is Jack Russell, and that's his name, like the dog, Jack Russell Terrier. They named the werewolf that's the guy's name. They're not using that character. They're going with the Latino character that is in the current version, which they will not be naming Jack Russell, which bothers me.
Wait, why are they whatever. Okay,
Because there's a new
comics.
series. They're just sticking with the new series,
Got it.
and it's a horrible name, Jack Russell, but fun for me.
I know. Well, I guess. Yeah. I just thought like if you're
1972 joke, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
That guy named Otto Octavius ends up with 8 limbs. What
I saw that.
Shocker.
I can't see how that happened.
Good times. But you know what? I posted it immediately because like, they're doing a Werewolf by Night thing. It's got to be at least tangentially
to be.
Moon Knight related. So
For sure.
everyone
I
must
mean,
know.
it isn't yet. Like the new series, the Werewolf by Night comic series, has not touched into Moon Knight yet. But that's.
But I mean, come on, they're
That's
doing a
where
Moon
they-
Knight show, and now they're doing a Werewolf by Night special. Come on,
Yeah,
they gotta.
They have to.
Well, that's kind of why I'm like a little disappointed to know that they're not gonna stick with the original. Just whatever, it's fine.
That's fine. They'll be fine.
I'm
They're all
just being
fine.
a stickler. I just want them to like do it the way they did it in comics. I think it'd be cool, but whatever.
They can't do that. They're not going to.
No,
We're
that's
all
okay.
fine here. How are you?
Hey man, who knows what the hell they're gonna do? We saw Eternals, and that movie was comic booky as hell.
Oh, we still haven't gotten to see that.
It was cool. It was a cool movie, but it was like freaking the Eternals movie. I didn't really know what to expect, but like, all right. I mean, I don't really like Eternals comics. I don't hate them or anything, so I wasn't super invested in the movie. It was really neat though. So who knows?
Yeah.
Marvel will do anything. People are
true.
nuts. SuperheroHype.com also reporting, and again, this I didn't need to read any more than the headline. Daniel Day Kim cast as Firelord Ozai in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Fucking sold.
Yeah, man, that's exactly what I said.
Check.
I mean, no offense to Mark Hamill. Literally, no offense to Mark Hamill. But, like, you know, he's not Asian. It was kind of weird that he was doing the voice of Firelord Ozai. That has always stuck out to me like a sore thumb. Like, it's a great villain voice, but, like, this is just a Japanese dude. Like, he's not Skeletor. He's not the Joker. There's nothing overly bombastic about the guy. He's a Japanese dude. Like, that's what he looks like, and it's Mark Hamill's voice. Like, I don't know, man. It's kind of a weird casting choice, but all right. But no, Daniel Day Kim, that's a great choice for Firelord Ozai. The
Yeah.
whole live-action Avatar show is still making me a little bit nervous, but I feel like they're, you know, if they're doing what they're doing with Bebop, which I think is a harder thing to adapt to live action than Avatar, then what the hey, you know, it can't be worse than the Shyamalama Ding Dong movie.
Yeah, I would say the exact same thing. And oh man, I don't know. I just like I really like this actor, and also like that means they may actually go in the right direction because they really did make the characters from this area look as though they would be of some sort of Eastern descent, like, and this is a South Korean actor who is perfect for this role. So yes, please keep going on this level and don't fuck it up because it's Avatar and it means too much to me. Okay, moving on.
Moving on. Let's see. This is just the trailer for Stranger Things 4 happened, and it sure looks like more Stranger Things to me.
Give it to me now, GIF.
Exactly. This is just like the Book of Boba Fett. I don't need to be sold on this. Thanks
Yeah,
for
we're-
reminding me that it's coming. Give me a little bit more of a hint of when it's coming. I don't need to see anything else. I'm in. I'm sold.
Yeah, I like that this is still going, and I like that the kids are actually like growing up as it's happening. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's neat.
And I think it's cool that they're setting it at spring break. I think, if I remember correctly, all of the seasons have been set around some sort of event that would be significant in a kid's life, and spring break is certainly one of those. And it makes sense, too, because there's the distance. Some of the characters moved away, so spring break was a good opportunity to reunite.
And it does it seem like it's centered more on 11 this time? I don't know. I couldn't tell, like...
It's just this trailer, so who the hell knows? Like,
Okay.
I think they're just trying to lay out the groundwork, because she was the one that, you know, she was living with Hop,
Yeah.
and he's in Russia now.
That's right. Oh, man, there's so many things I forgot. Okay,
Yes.
whatever.
So I don't know.
Full series rewatch before that comes out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He had to
do our
have that
best.
whole cameo with Black Widow, so he had to move to Russia.
There you go.
Right?
Well,
honey.
transitioning from good ideas to incredibly bad ideas, comicbook.com
I'm so happy you agree with this.
posts that Fairly Odd Parents live action reboot gets release window. I'm not even no. Fuck
Why?
this.
Why would you do this?
Why would you do that? What? This is like the Powerpuff Girls animated series. There's certain cartoons that are like, it's a fucking cartoon. You don't need to do a live action Ren and Stimpy. It's magic. Stop it. What are you doing? The hell are you doing? The actual hell.
But the
is
cast
wrong
photo
with
looks
you.
like they're having so much fun.
I don't want to know anything else about it. I don't know if that
Honestly?
makes me a bad news anchor or not. And honestly, I don't give a shit. No.
Yeah.
I
No.
say no.
Maybe
Go to
this is the
journalism
issue.
school, so we could forgive you.
Maybe this is the issue, though, Chris. Maybe this is what I'm struggling with, is all of these things that are being taken as animation and trying to be made into something live action. And, like, the beauty of animation is that it's animated. And people cannot always be as animated as an animation. Therefore, it's not translating. So why are we fucking doing this?
The medium has, like, there's a reason the medium exists, because it can do things that the other mediums can't.
Yeah.
At least with Cowboy Bebop, they have human proportions.
Fair.
Solid point.
I guess
Cowboy
you've
Bebop
got
was like,
it.
all right, I could see these characters as real people. That would be a neat thing to see. This is like, they got giant, they're cartoon characters. I don't need, stop that. Bad. Go lay down. No. Bad.
Go way down, he says.
All right, let's
Thankfully, the dog is asleep, or I think she'd be very confused.
possibly. All right, Variety brings us some much better news here. Disney Plus Day happened, and my favorite things that came out of that were the Marvel's first looks. We got a first look at Moon Knight, She-Hulk, and Miss Marvel.
I have not
They were
seen
very
them
short first
things.
looks. I very much liked all three of them.
Okay.
I heard some backlash on the She-Hulk thing, which I don't understand. It seemed like it was based on some comic stuff that I don't know. I haven't read much in She-Hulk comics, but like almost nothing happened in the teaser trailer, so I'm not sure what there was to get upset about. But hey, I don't know. Ms. Marvel looks really cool. I'm all for this She-Hulk show. Tatiana Maslany's awesome, and like seeing Mark Ruffalo in there. And Evan, talk to me. How did Moon Knight make you feel?
So I loved it. I mean, it's my universe come to life, but I unfortunately hear things that the comic going people start saying and harping on and whatnot, and all of this stuff we need to like pace ourselves, people, because these are things that are not mainstream. These are things that are for specific, like they're special for specific people, but they're going to make it for everybody, because if they made a Moon Knight show for the Moon Knight fans, 12 people would watch it.
Yeah,
So-
there's not a ton. Like, there are tens of you out there, and
Yes.
that's great. But let's see if we can make Moon Knight. Let's see if we can get it to be like hundreds of you out there.
And the fact of the matter is there was so little information given. Like, people are harping on there's an accent, and so I'm like, okay, he may, just because your brain when you're reading the comic book doesn't throw an accent in there doesn't mean he doesn't have an accent. He might have an accent. We don't know. We just have to see how the story goes. And he has multiple personalities. Like, it could be a device that they're using.
It seemed like it was one of the personalities had an accent, and then another one had a different accent,
Yes.
or I can't say no accent because that doesn't really exist, but a different manner of speaking with a different personality, and I think that's an excellent device for the television medium for something like that, to help the viewers differentiate between the personalities.
Yeah, and
I don't know a ton about a Moon Knight, but I thought it looked really cool. I can't wait to see the rest of the costume. Like, I really want to see how it all looks put together.
There was a release image a while ago. It's very different from what we've seen, but it's a comic book character. Like, there's hundreds
Settle
of different.
down.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. We get something new every time there's a new title for a comic. We get a new artist's interpretation of it. Happens all the time. It's
I feel
not
like
going
Moon
to
Knight in
ruin.
particular has been like interpreted so differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time there is a new Moon Knight title, there is a slight variation on his comic book, or on his costume. Sometimes not so slight. So, like, there was a point in time where he had a cape and cowl kind of setup going on, and then he went to like a business dress. Like, he was wearing patent shoes. Like, it was very, very different. But
Mr. Moon Knight.
that's the artist's interpretation. That's where the story went, and that's okay. And that's what I want to see. Give me it now.
My entire feeling is that as long as Evan's happy, I'm going to like this. Like, that's it. I don't even care. I just want Evan to like it, so don't fuck it up, Marvel.
And I will like it no matter what. I mean, there's not been a comic book property that I have not liked. There have been bad ones, but there's nothing that has angered me so much. All right, Catwoman.
I was
with Halle
just going to
Berry.
say, don't make me
But
say
that doesn't count because that wasn't based on the comic book character. That was based on something crazy in someone's perverted mind.
I think MCU in particular hasn't had any proper misses. Like, even the lowest bar that the MCU has set has still been, I think, pretty high as far as like being an entertaining comic book adaptation. And I have no reason to think that if they're following through with a character like Moon Knight getting its own TV show, that we can't expect it to have the same level of quality as the other official MCU stuff that's been tied in. You know, like, I didn't catch Runaways. I think Inhumans looks like garbage, but that stuff wasn't, official MCU tie-ins like this stuff is. So
Right.
I think all three of them look great. So I'm 100% in. I think the shows they've done so far, WandaVision,
Fantastic.
Captain Falcon, and Loki have been just spectacular.
And surprising. Like, they've done something different with each one of those titles.
Yeah.
So I'm just mad curious to see where they go.
Their track record is great for me. I know there's some folks out there like really chomping at the bit for like the downfall of the Marvel movies because, the new ones aren't a bunch of white dudes and, saving the day. But those people can go scratch. Ms. Marvel was great, and this Captain Marvel was great, and this new Miss Marvel show looks fantastic. I'm liking all this new stuff. So yeah, keep them coming. Eternals was awesome. Black Widow was a good time. Shang-Chi was freaking great. So
I love Shang-Chi.
I enjoyed that quite a bit, except Aquafina. God,
We know, honey.
damn.
Stop having a grudge. She's actually not as bad as you think.
He's the worst.
You're
Thank
the
you.
worst.
yeah, I thought she was great, but I mean, everybody irrationally hates somebody, right? I mean,
Yep.
what's her face?
that's it. That's it for Evan. It's a very weird, irrational thing, and he like apologizes for it, and then he's like, "But I still hate her."
I can't help it.
It's just like me with what's her face from Grey's Anatomy, Sandra Oh.
Sandra
I
Oh.
don't know why.
Yeah.
She's not doing anything wrong.
Nope.
She's fine. She did great.
She's
even.
not.
I
She's
just
wrong,
have an
and
irrational
you're okay with
distaste
having
for her. But that's on me. That's my problem. That's not anybody else's problem. But anyway, there you go. That's good stuff. Way to go. They also announced an Echo show coming out. That's kind of cool.
Which is going to be great because that's going to be a great tie-in to both Hawkeye and Moon Knight.
Awesome.
Wait,
So-
Echo?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Echo at one point in time donned the Ronin costume.
I don't even know who
Which-
Echo is.
Echo, she's similar. She's I want to say deaf. Is that the
Yeah, she's
or-
deaf.
She's deaf, but she
Oh.
has she sees something, she can mimic it. She's a mimic. That's a good word to use.
Okay.
And she donned the Ronin costume for a minute, which is her Hawkeye tie-in, and then one of the series, like, she was a borderline love interest for Moon Knight in one of the series. So,
Okay. Cool.
Fascinating.
Yep.
All right.
Also coming out of that Disney Plus day, Marvel.com exclusive cast announcement for X-Men 97 coming to Disney Plus. I cannot believe this is a thing.
Yes.
They're just continuing the old X-Men cartoon. They're calling it 97 as if they're just picking up literally where it left off a year later in 1996.
I'm
That
not
is
mad about
nuts.
And they're using the there's this meme going out with Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. They're
repetitive.
using the original theme song and the original cast. Well, the surviving cast
The
members.
surviving
yeah.
cast, but
And there's going to be new cast members. The big question is whether or not it's going to incorporate the comics. They released a
Yeah.
bunch of comics that took place after the ending of the show, which I never got around to reading, and I really should.
they were all
And
right.
whether or not they're going to actually incorporate the last season of the show, which was kind of a shit show, because they went to a different animation company and the budget was slashed. A couple of voice actors changed. Like it was kind of a mess. But I mean, the way they announced the show was probably the most brilliant thing. It's that Wolverine laying on the bed, looking at the picture of Scott and Jean that's become like the internet meme. They announced the show like with Wolverine looking at it, and then the frame is X-Men 97, all new original series. Like, way to understand your audience. Good job.
Absolutely. Way to read the room there, Disney.
Yeah. Way to read everyone. Yeah.
I hope it's.
2023.
I don't want to say I hope it's good because, like, is the original one technically good? It is melodramatic as all get out.
Yeah.
I hope it is exactly what the original show is. I hope it is exactly what it is claiming to be, and it's going to be. I like the idea of seeing new adventures of these X-Men because I feel so out of touch with current comics X-Men. And these are my X-Men. Like I know these characters in their goofy ass outfits, and like I really like that. So I'm excited. I'm excited. There's going to be more of the X-Men that I grew up with.
Same. That's exactly, like, this was the thing that really got me into the X-Men as a kid, and I got hardcore into it. I got, like, the Marvel, like, encyclopedia, and I used to, like, read up on all the characters because I didn't really have access to comics when I was younger, so, like, this was the thing that, like, gave me so much of what built my love of these characters in the X-Men universe, and I'm thrilled.
Same here.
Like,
I
I
didn't
even-
have access to the comics either. It was this
Yeah.
cartoon. It was the trading cards
Yeah.
and the action figures.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah,
just
and the
loved
action figures for
X-Men.
sure. Yeah, you know.
Yeah,
All right. I mean, do we even want to mention this next one?
it's okay.
It's a good
I'm
way
okay
to
with
mention that there's another show coming out. All right. So
Yeah, okay.
inside the magic.net hit this wonderful headline. Goodbye, Tom Holland. Marvel announces new Spider-Man star.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I shared this just because I thought that this was the most ridiculous, stupid way to use a headline. And I wanted everyone else's opinion on it. Basically, it's just there's an animated Spider-Man cartoon coming out and Tom Holland's not voicing it. The end. You don't need to read this. I promise. It's not worth it.
Yeah, because like that's all we know. We don't know what Tom Holland's future in the MCU is. We don't. Like, that hasn't been decided yet. There's been a lot of talk that sounds an awful lot like an actor who wants more money, but or just trying to throw people off the scent of what's actually happening. But nobody knows anything yet. But there's a new Spider-Man cartoon coming out called Freshman Year, and it's drawn like Golden Age comics, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So I'm into that.
For
Yeah, I
what
will
it's
say
worth,
that part was cool.
I did read an article and I didn't throw it in because A, it's movies, and B, it wasn't a very reputable source. But I did read an article where they were saying that that Spider-Man is going to be, Peter Parker is going to be the new soul of the Avengers. Like, he's going to replace Tony as that, like, leader figure. Whether or not that's
leader?
true, I don't know, but
That has been
Yeah.
kind of what they've been working towards with
Yeah.
the Spider-Man character for a while now, is having him take over for the Tony Stark role. And
I could see him as a linchpin, but I can't see him as a leader.
Still need Falcon.
that's the thing.
Falcon.
I don't know. I don't know what they're. I really don't. I don't know what to make of it. But I've been enjoying it all so far. So let's
Yeah.
see.
I'm not going to complain.
We're over here in the realm of just pure unadulterated joy. There was the opening an official teaser for the new Fraggle Rock show that's been in the works for a very long time. It's pretty good looking. There's a couple of voice actors reprising their roles. Wembley sounds a little weird, but you can't expect the same voices to be on everything for the rest of your lives. And the only character they redesigned was Moki, which I think is weird. Everybody else looks exactly the same as they did on the original show. Moki is unrecognizable. Like, I didn't even know that's who that was supposed to be until like the last shot where they show all the the main characters lined up. Was like, oh shit, pink skin and blue hair. That's Moki. All right. She's just kind of like a different kind of hippie right now. I really don't know why they bothered remodeling her, but she doesn't look bad. It's just like this is weirdly different, but okay. It's called Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock. It's going to be on Apple TV Plus. Fulfilling my nightmare of all the Henson properties being split off and only viewable on different streaming services, with the Sesame Street is HBO and the Muppets are Disney Plus and the Fraggles are Apple TV. But while that
wants
means
a piece of that Henson pie.
Yeah, while that basically means that these characters will never ever cross over again like they did and we will also never get an official re-release of that wonderful Christmas special, Muppet Family Christmas. This does look pretty good, and I was always sad that my kids didn't get into Fraggle Rock the way that I did. But I don't know, maybe they'll watch this one.
Did you try to introduce them to Fraggle Rock?
I did, and they liked it a bit when they were little, but not really enough. And not really the way that I did, where I really latched onto it. And it kind of made me sad because I like the way Fraggle Rock deals with a lot of stuff as a kid's show. Like, it doesn't pull its punches. It always gave kids more credit than other children's shows did, which was Jim Henson's intent with the show.
Right.
And I don't know. I hope this one lives up to that, and I hope that it catches on, because I would love to see Fraggle Rock be one of those things that's still around. It just breaks my heart that these were all sold off. Like,
I would like to see a world
Muppets,
where you...
Sesame Street, and Fraggle Rock don't have the same connection anymore, and that makes me sad. But that's the modern world we live in.
Yes, it is.
Here's a surprise. I had no idea this was happening. Reno 911 special, The Hunt for QAnon, gets premiere date on Paramount Plus. This comes to us from Variety.com. All right, sure, go nuts. Reno 911 can keep doing things as long as they want.
I thought this was a joke at first until I saw that it was actually posted by Carrie Kenny.
Yeah, I had no clue, but here it is. I've seen so little of this show, and it's all these the state alums, so it's weird that I haven't seen more of it. But hey, it is what it is. You guys got any thoughts on this one?
I never cared for this show. Not like... It was one of those things where I was like, oh, I could watch this, or I'll go watch something else. And then I ended up with, like, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and that kind of just made me lose all interest in this. Yeah. Because, like, I had my funny, haha, cop show. Even though they're completely different in their type of humor, from what I understand.
They are, but they are very different, but still similar.
Yeah.
Similar premise.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
This next one's fascinating to me. So I don't know if it's going to be fascinating to anybody but me, but here we are. I'll at least tell this part of the story. So there is a new Earthworm Jim cartoon coming out.
Okay.
Earthworm Jim.
I didn't know what this was. I just clicked on it for the first time.
Yeah, I
didn't know what this was. I clicked on it for the first time right now in that article. That like what? Okay. Sorry. Go.
I played Earthworm Jim as a kid, and I will say, like, I thought this was kind of cool. So I'm a little excited.
So the original Earthworm Jim was a massively successful video game, and it got an animated series on the WB network. And that animated series got a humongous cult following, mostly because the main character, Earthworm Jim, was voiced by Dan Castellaneta, Homer Simpson, which is just hilarious to listen to him. It was a pretty funny show. It was really weird. But then again, the game it's based on is really weird. It was very much a 90s cartoon in the same vein of stuff like Freakazoid and Animaniacs. So it was pretty neat. It's pretty weird. I think it only lasted one season, maybe two. So the Earthworm Jim brand has been through a bit. What the heck's that guy's name? I gotta hold on. Give me 1 second here to look up this guy's name. There he is. The creator of Earthworm Jim is kind of a walking shit show.
Okay.
He's like this super bigot right-wing nut job named Doug Tenapil. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but that's kind of been a noose around the neck of this franchise for quite a while now. Like, okay, Earthworm Jim was really cool, but man, his creator turned out to be kind of a piece of shit. And like, I'm talking like, I feel like it's way worse than the whole Harry Potter situation. Like, people hate J.K. Rowling, and like, she's kind of shitty, but like, this dude's awful. This guy is just he's just trash. So, this show got announced, and it was on Twitter immediately. The first comment that I saw on Twitter was, because it was posted from the official Earthworm Jim Twitter account, and they said, "Hey, what are your feelings on trans rights?" And the account responded, "Trans rights are human rights." And they're like, "Well, okay then." And then the next tweet was, "Wait, is the original creator involved in this?" And the account tweeted, "Absolutely not."
Oh, God.
Oh, all right then. So that's pretty cool. And the trailer itself, like the animation style, looks pretty neat. I think it looks funny. I think it looks good. There's also supposedly a new Earthworm Jim game happening for the ill-fated Intellivision Amico.
That's bullshit. I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
That sounds so fun. What's an Amico? You should tell me all about it.
Nah, I'm not gonna. If you want to know about the Intellivision Amico, that's a whole ass situation right there. And
It is a podcast, literally a podcast for another podcast.
yes, indeed. But Tenapil was apparently involved, at least to some extent, with the creation of that supposed game that nobody's even sure if it exists. So it was especially funny that they announced this game a couple of years ago, and there has been one extremely brief clip that's debatably not even real of the game, but now there's an entire trailer for an animated series. So, you know, that's something. I think it's neat. I'd love to see this do well, because I think Earthworm Jim and its related characters are really weird and cool, and this new show looks funny.
Good.
I didn't understand what this. It's like movie news. I'm not sure why it was in here. You had a connective tissue for the Wakanda thing.
Isn't Wakanda Forever a show?
No, it's this. It's a movie.
Then never mind.
Okay. Stuff's going on with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Fully shuts down production, possibly because Shuri is
There
an
is going to be a
anti-vaxxer.
Wakanda show, though, right? I didn't completely imagine this.
No.
Not that I'm aware of. I think it's...
There fucking totally is. Where's my phone? This is ridiculous. There is definitely going to be a Disney Plus show in the universe of Wakanda.
Wakanda TV series from Ryan Coogler in the works at Disney Plus.
I fucking told you.
It's announced back in February. All right.
I think we talked about it
Karen
on our
is the-
show.
Yeah, that's probably why we
Only
knew about it. I
one who
forgot that
knows.
was even a thing.
All right, anyway.
But
never
yeah,
mind.
Wakanda Forever is the movie.
Okay, and Letitia Wright is a anti-vaxxer, and that's all you need to know.
Anyway, thank you, Evan, for posting this for me. Comicbook.com. Law & Order reveals premiere date for 21st season return. February 24th, 2022. I know what I'll be doing.
Happy
Watching Law &
Valentine's
Order.
Day to you.
Yes,
10 days
indeed.
late. It's a love letter to Kris.
Yes, it is.
That's the story. Law & Order is awesome, and it's coming back in February, and I can't wait to see what it is. Warms my heart.
That's the good stuff right there, baby.
The utter excitement. So cute.
There it is.
Does it warm the cockles, or maybe somewhere below the cockles, in the subcoccular
sub-
area?
So, any other news tonight?
Maybe in the liver, maybe in the kidneys, maybe even in the colon. We don't
know.
Wait, what?
So
I will never not have the entirety of that song memorized.
that is a Christmas song by.
It's not a Christmas song.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's Asshole by
That's
Denis Leary.
Asshole by Denis Leary.
Which has recently come back into my consciousness, and I start humming it when my kids are acting up.
I mean, we did just watch a movie where Denis Leary was... What the fuck? He was like
he?
a main character, right?
What?
Was it The Sandlot?
No.
Because I just watched that, and he
What
was
did
in
we
that, and I
watch?
was like,
Was
what
he?
are you doing here,
Oh,
Denis
that's right, he was
Leary?
the dad.
Oh no, it was Henry Rollins. But that was like around the same time I discovered Henry Rollins, I discovered Denis Leary's Asshole song, and so I always
Discovered Denis-
Denis Leary's asshole.
Yes.
Subtitle.
You gotta put Denis Leary's asshole ... song.
I just they both I can't think of one without thinking of the other, and then thinking of the assholes, you know.
Okay.
But
Well, that's great content and more.
I do it for the assholes.
Oh, yay.
Okay, I'm done.
Well, that's gonna do it for us. Yeah. Wow, the Discord going on our Discord channel about reboots, that like they did that whole Saved by the Bell thing, and
I
wow.
was supposed to watch that for science, and I never did.
Hey Karen, can
For-
you do
for
me a
what?
favor?
What?
When we sign off tonight, you go first, okay? I'm gonna make it very clear so we get it right this time.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds like a plan. All right, everybody, that is our show. This week's episode is not filmed before a live studio audience, but it is fueled by feedback from listeners like you. And you can get in touch with us in a multitude of ways. We have an official Geekade Discord, where there's an entire This Week's Episode channel dedicated to all things TV talk. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through the official Geekade channels or the more specific Twepcast accounts, which we don't really use anymore, whatever. And of course, the four of us can be found in various ways. I'm available on Twitter at Kris, and you can read my work at StoneAgeGamer.com and in the pages of Nintendo Force magazine. Karen, where can the good people of the internet find you?
On most platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Etsy, and TikTok at STM Stitches.
Angie, where can people find you?
They can find me on my website, angelafernot.com, and I'll be running a Black Friday special because I made a new website and I'm launching it officially this weekend.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Evan, where can people find you?
Geekade_Evan.
That's a lie. They can't find you.
Blah!
If you need to know more about the shows we discussed tonight or what we'll be watching in the future, have a look at our show notes. And if you have any other questions at all, we can always be reached at mail@geekade.com. Just include the words "this week's episode" in the subject line so we know who you're trying to reach. This show is available anywhere fine podcasts are sold, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. And wherever you decide to listen, please like, comment, subscribe, and leave reviews, because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. Again, as always, keep your eyes on Geekade for more fresh, original content. What's a quick reminder of our homework?
Norseman, episode 1.
Season 1, episode 1.
Season 1, episode 1? Yeah, sorry.
Gotcha. Norseman. Make it happen, folks. All right, everybody. That is it. I'm signing off now. I'm Kris.
I'm Karen.
I'm Angie.
Dun dun.
Good night.
And this concludes our broadcast day.